There you go, friends. Hi. Bon appetit. Oh, oh my heavens. Well, I'll tell you the truth. Just sitting here again, just scratching my head about this brain fog stuff I get. And well, what are you going to do? It's just sort of how it is. You get to be my age, these things happen. And I think one reason it kind of gets to me is that at one time, you may not know this, but at one time I worked in a mental hospital. I worked at I don't know if it's still active or not, but it was Greystone. I did it for a summer between college semesters. Yes. And ooh, wow, that was that was really a wild place. Is all I can say. Being an orderly there, oh, you had I was let's see, we I was working in a men's dorm. Yes, all patients, mental patients, and boy, some of them, wow, oh, were they in a bad way? Oh my God, just break your heart. And people that at one time, I'm sure, served their country well, served their families well, but now they're walking around sometimes well, incontinent, just jabber jawing to heaven knows who, like that, or you have to feed them. They didn't know how to even work a fork anymore. It was, and of course, all the time uh, messing their drawers if they even had drawers on. I mean, it was actually, truth be known, it was a vision of hell. It truly was taking care of those patients. You did what I always did what I could to be nice to everyone. I don't think anyone could say that uh, I made a person's day worse. But my God, those poor people. Hopefully, it's different now. Hopefully, you're figuring again. In my case, that would have been the '60s, the mid '60s. It's 35 years and another 25. I don't know. That's about 60 years ago. I'm hoping various medications have come out that are making things a little easier on those poor folks. The thing is, the basic human needs were still there. They still needed, they still appreciated being washed down. We'd give them sponge baths or take them into the shower and see to it that they got a shower. Some cases that was a nightmare because maybe for some reason a patient was afraid of showers. The shower water scared them. And you'd have to you'd have to coax them in, or in some cases, you just had to wrestle them into the dug-on shower and get them turn on the water carefully, make sure it wasn't too hot or too cold, and get them cleaned off. They with all the stuff they'd gotten into. There was patients that just wandered around, just talking to nothing, just jabber jawing, having a conversation with something, but whatever they were talking to wasn't visible to us humans. they were they were way out there, and some were some were violent but sedated somewhat. But if for some reason their sedation went down, boy, it took three or four orderlies to hold the person down to get that medication back into them. Most patients weren't wearing straitjackets because they you just couldn't get them on them, and it just made them so miserable. It was we all kind of just I guess the hospital decided better to just let them roam around, and I guess they'd use pills to keep them somewhat calm. But man, it was really bad. Again, back in the '60s, and again a very long time ago now, 60 some years ago. It was a hoot, and I was honored to do what I could to help, but you honestly just couldn't be much help to them. you'd put on they had a TV room, and we put on the TV, and uh, they'd look at the TV, but you could see it wasn't registering. These people were very, very far gone. All sorts, you name whatever brain disorder uh, they could have had. Trust me, they had it, and maybe a few more to boot. And in many cases, especially back in those days, there just wasn't. And we thought back then, we thought we were really doing well by them compared to what it was like maybe 20 years prior to that, prior to the 60s. But I imagine now, hopefully things are a bit better, and they're maybe a little more, properly sedated, maybe properly cared for. Um, it, they almost never got visits from their families. The families just, I think, would go in there and they just to visit, and they just couldn't take it. It's 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 something, just a real hard thing for a person to view, especially if it was some loved uh, uh, family member that now is just pretty much a walking vegetable. It was tough. It was tough. Did, like I said, we did what we could for them, and I did the best I could to keep them going. Those that could talk, I tried to have conversations with them, and quite often you would get some good rapport. Some would tell you about maybe what they did in the service. Some would tell you what they did, what their families were like, and all that. And on occasion, a family member would come in uh, to sit with the patient or take them, depending on how bad they were, how bad their condition was. Sometimes they'd take them out to maybe some place to go get a meal, out in the real world. But it was tough. I know one thing. Anything, if you think you're starting to come down with troubles of the emotional or mental trouble, uh, and disorders, you definitely want to, you don't slough it off. Go to the doctor and get that help, because a lot of times I think they can stop some of this stuff nowadays before it goes too far. And because you definitely want to be on top of that situation, because it is, the mental hospitals are tough, and I doubt they've gotten, I I would hope they've gotten better, but I don't know. It's pretty rough stuff to have to deal with. Anyway, I know this isn't a very calming video, is it? But it's it's good to know that that kind of thing is could conceivably still be out there, and you want to take good care of your brain and watch it on the drugs and the booze and the angry outbursts and stuff and arguing and such. I think with one another, better to keep your head on the, I guess, the loving side of people, and that's got to help keep keep the mental troubles to a minimum, I would think. The big thing is just do all you can to be healthy. Eat healthy, do your walking, your exercise, do a job you like doing, um, love your family, appreciate them, do all you can, and maybe some of that stuff will stay away from you. One can only hope. Bad stuff, bad stuff. And but there you go. I know that's not a cheerful thing, but I would say in the time it was from back in the 60s to now, that might be the better way to put it. I'm sure things have gotten at least somewhat better. You would at least, that's certainly my hope. And I would think, yes, there probably are probably some of those people on the wards at the state hospitals back then with today's medication might not have had such a hard time like they did back in those days. And I don't know, heaven help the people, say 100 years ago. I don't know what they did. It had to be hideous to be on one of their wards or to be a patient back then. So hopefully things have changed a bit for the better. I've not heard, but I would think yes. I know when I did rescue, there was, I think where I think when I lived down in Wilson, I think there was a mental hospital there that I think the patients were somewhat better treated than what they were back when I was, again, in college. So hopefully, like I said, maybe things are switching around a bit and some cures have been found. Let's hope. One can only hope. You know, for all those people, the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. So be it. I'll see you later, friends. And again, God bless us all. We'll see you. Ta-ta.